Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye, up. Bye, up. Let's get to the intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate your support. I'm very humbled by it. So today is the day. Today, fucking Richueca Haro and Jakey the Snakey will be in court for a felony conference. Now, what does that mean? That means they're going to sit their fat asses down with their lawyers and they're going to try to hammer out a deal. Now, I'm here to tell you, I got some inside information inside, right? I was able to dig up something to get at someone and to kind of figure out what the hell is going to go on. What is this all about? What are we waiting for? This is the day we've all been waiting for, the 16th of October, 2025. And this is the court date that is going to finally expose some truth, a variation of the truth, but some truth. We might today just find out where baby Emmanuel is resting. Okay. So today's court date, which will be later on today, and I'll be bringing you full coverage of the aftermath of the court date, absolutely, and let you guys know exactly what happens, is the day that they sit down with their lawyers, what they were going to do last time, but it was continued into today. It's the day when the prospective lawyers sit down and try to figure out what type of deal, if any deal, the district attorney is willing to give them. They're going to be basically presented with all evidence against them. And we all know at this point it's fucking circumstantial, but it's still, all evidence is good evidence when it comes to keeping monsters away from children that don't know how to act and don't know how to be parents, right? But if you guys recall, in the last one, when it was continued, it was Jake's defense that actually asked for the continuance that upset Rebecca Haro's defense. If you remember, Rebecca Haro wanted to do it right then and there. Her team was ready to go. They were ready for all evidence to be put out there so that way their client could either go home or could take a deal. Now, Jake, on the other hand, had a lot of different arguments. One of his arguments was he needed time to try to come up with money to post bail, which that obviously never happened. We didn't think it would. I didn't think his dirtbag ass family had enough money or enough assets to put up for him. I could be wrong, but I wasn't, right? And then also they asked for more time of continuance so that way they could gather more information on their side. And then the judge decided to put what we remember was some type of block around, right? Which it was a restraining order to keep people away from being able to look at, evidence. So today it comes out. So basically, it was they blocked us from being able to see the discovery. They blocked Jake and Rebecca from being able to see the discovery, which is pretty odd because you have the right to look at your discovery to see what evidence and who they got to testify against you. That's just the way it goes in the court of law, no matter what you're in there for, no matter what you've done. That's the facts, right? But they blocked and they put a restraining order on this discovery. This was all done by the judge. And I kind of agree with it. I respect the way the judge is thinking at this point. Don't give Rebecca and Jake any ammunition to try to dissect or give their lawyers any reasoning to dissect anything that the district attorney has against them at this point. Let it play out. You don't want social media to hinder it. You don't want people to go on la tira out there going crazy, right? And fuck it up on accident. Not saying that Ahmed would do something like that, but just saying you don't need anyone like that doesn't know better to go out there and mess up evidence, right? Not saying on the tira did, man. I back his play 100%. He's the reason why we're in this position right now. He shed a lot of light. But there are people that do want to be mini detectives. They want to be their own whatever it is. They all want to figure this out. Well, at least they did. Not many do anymore. Now people have moved on, but that's just what it is. I have not. We're right here. It is October 16th, and today is the day. And I talked to someone close to the family of Jake, right? It's harder to get a hold of Rebecca's family just based on they don't even like her ass. The one person I was able to get a hold of, which was a family friend, said that they did not know if Rebecca had communicated with her extensive family for years. So basically, she's been on the shineada. She's been on the shine. She's been like a pot of the rice bubbling in the back. Nobody wants to be around her. And I think that's due to things she's done in the past, for her leaving her children. Because remember, she has other children, leaving them behind and going with this man that's upsetting to them because he has these child abuse cases. He's just a bad person, and that family ain't as good as he. They're all washed up just like he is. But she chose that. She chose that man. She chose his family over her own children. And we see how it worked out for her. Now she's sitting there in a courtroom today fighting for her life. That's what happens when you want the DZ, right? When you want that dick. Now you're fighting for your life. First you were fighting your family for the dick. Now you're fighting life. There you go, for the dick. Today they're going to sit there and their lawyers are going to try to hammer out some type of deal. And I believe, according to what Jake's family told me, that Jake is going to ask for another continuance. See, this man knows, because of his background, exactly what time it is. He's guilty as sin and he looks worse. Okay? Now, on Rebecca's side, today, I believe, is the day she's going to confess. She's going to give a variation of some type of story. I don't want to call it the truth, because we'll never possibly get the truth with these two fucking idiots. But we are going to get some type of variation of some type of explanation. I believe her team is going to try to distance themselves today from Jake Haro. This is the day. And the family member that I talked to was concerned that Rebecca might go this route. This is what was told to me. This ain't some theory I'm coming up with. This ain't me just fucking talking to hear myself talk. This is what that person told me. They said they believe the type of communication they're in with Jake, but I'm sure obviously for them speaking for him, they might as well be in some type of communication, and perhaps probably are. But they believe that Jake believes that Rebecca might try to distance herself and say something that could hurt his case. Now, of course, what he means by that is her telling the truth or telling us where baby Manuel is for a better deal. Now, you guys got to remember, now that their trial is separated, now that they have their own defense attorneys, this is what could happen. Rebecca could decide that jail is becoming too much. She is ready to go to prison. A lot of people, jail will fuck you up into a conviction. It'll push you into a conviction. Even if you're innocent, you just want to get away from county jail, because county jail sucks. It's worse than prison. You have no extra programs there. There's no incentives there. It's just basically just doing time the hard way. Going to prison, you're open to education. You're open to more programs. You're open to getting time cuts if you're eligible for it. Now, in this case, I don't know exactly what type of deal Rebecca would get, if any, but maybe her lawyers have gotten to her and saying, look, if you place blame on Jake, stop all the bullshit of the woman that's holding on like in Vogue to a man that doesn't want her or doesn't care for her. If you now look out for yourself, if you explain what happened and paint him in a bad light, we can quite possibly get you convicted, get you up out of here with a lighter sentence, and you can come back and testify against Jake in a court of law and maybe get a time reduction. So she's going to look out for herself today. And I believe today is the day, because if she decides not to, and if she decides not to save herself, not to care about her kid enough to finally tell us where baby Manuel is, to bring some justice and to bring him home so that we can get a proper burial and a proper memorial done, then she's a worse a fool than she already is. Okay, we know she's guilty of sin, and I honestly believe she had firsthand intimate knowledge of this crime. We know that, but I think she did it. It's whatever. That's my opinion. That's the opinion of a lot of others like me. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter in the court of law. As long as they get a conviction, as long as that district attorney is getting a conviction and a notch on his belt, c'est la vie. Hola. Right? She's gone. Now, if she does decide to turn on Jake today, and there's a lot of people that say they believe Jake is going to turn on Rebecca first. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That's not in his benefit. Okay, he's not going to get as good of a deal as Rebecca would. Rebecca's the grieving woman, allegedly. We know she's not grieving, but she's getting her hair French braided and she's sitting there all stupid. But according to the way they can make it look, she's the grieving mother who was scared for her life, who was being beat continuously by a man who already has convictions as a woman beater. Now, they will bring up the fact that, of course, she knew about his case prior to being in a relationship or affiliated with this man. But again, women make faulty decisions, just like men do. People make bad decisions. You can't give a person the death penalty or life without the possibility of parole for making a bad decision. Now, you can when that bad decision entails killing your own child or killing anyone else. That is not a bad decision. That is not a mistake. That is, you're fucking foolish, right? Still, even with that, if this woman decides enough is enough and she has a little bit of remorse in her heart or can play it off good enough, then she could point the finger at this bad man who already has a rap sheet, who already looks a certain type of way. I mean, just by the pictures of her with continual bruises on her face, with bruises giving bruises piggyback rides, she and her lawyers can prove without a shadow of a doubt that this man was abusive, or that this man had her scared enough for her to make up a story like, hola, right? I don't know. From what that family member told me, they're pretty concerned with what's going to go on with Jake. I believe Jake is going to, again, ask for a continuance. And I believe it's not going to be a continuance. It's going to be either you say something now and take a deal if offered. If not, let's go to the box. See, the district attorney has more than enough evidence right now for a conviction. What I learned a long time ago is usually and it's very rare that you beat a case. It does happen. I've seen people beat murder cases. I've seen people beat attempted murders, robberies, all that. When you get an aggressive police officer or an aggressive judge, an aggressive district attorney, and they don't dot all their I's and cross all their T's, and they're just pushing this evidence that they have, most times if you have a paid lawyer, if you have a good team of lawyers, they can dissect that and kind of point towards where you were just being pushed into that corner with no room to fight. And I've seen people's convictions get overturned because of, faulty moves in the courthouse. I've just seen a number of things. In this case, and for the most part, usually if they have enough evidence to charge you with the murder, especially in this case, the murder of your own child without a body or a weapon, they could prove motive. They could prove over a history of time, allegations. They could prove by the crime scene, which in this case, it seems like the crime scene is the inside of that home, depending upon how much, the amount of blood they found and the DNA they found there. Whatever they found or whatever they know or whatever was told to them by witnesses, and believe me, they got a lot of witnesses, probably family members, friends, people in the community, whatever, right? Officers that were called out there or had willings and dealings with Jake in the past, or family members that did see baby Emmanuel in the conditions that he was in. Obviously, for the district attorney or for the sheriffs to say that they believe that he was being tortured and abused over an amount of time, and they have the evidence to prove that, then that means the evidence to prove that has to be word of mouth. It can't be pictures. It has to be somebody saying so, a firsthand account. So they got evidence, enough circumstantial to get an arrest. They probably have more than enough to get a conviction. With that being said, it doesn't look good for Jakey the fucked up Snakey. It does not look good with his criminal past, with us knowing what he did to Promise, with all that. His lawyers are like, look, bro, we need as much time as we can to prepare, and we need to push this out as far as possible. But this fat ass fucking bitch is going to mess things up. And absolutely, I believe wholeheartedly, Rebecca's team is going to mess it up today. She's going to blow up Jake's spot. And I believe that she's going to look out for herself finally. When you get to thinking about it, these type of women that choose these type of men are selfish. See, you may not think they're selfish because they want to do everything they can for that man. And I believe this was the demise and this was the death. The reasoning behind the death of baby Manuel, I believe, because of the condition he was in, he suffered at the hands of his mother more so than his father, because his father did not want him around. He felt some type of way. He probably threatened Rebecca because he didn't believe that was his son, and did so many psychological things to her that she developed a hatred for baby Manuel. It's what I believe. And she is the one that took care of him, not in a good way, right? So that way Jake would not leave her and would not be upset with her. She seems like that type of woman. But again, a woman that is stuck in a mindset that they can't live without this man, or everything they do for this man, eventually over time, once a realization hits, ding, mind blown. Hola, once it hits, right? What happens? She realizes that her selfish intentions, her greed, and her selfish ways come to the surface. And how is she selfish? Because any woman that can't live without a man and just needs that man, it's because she's selfish. She put him before her children. She put him before her family. She put him before her fucking appearance, before her well-being, before her health. All these different things. It was all about Jake, right? So much so that now she's going to end up blaming him for everything. Because once you're apart from someone, they call it time heals all wounds. Man, I could tell you a story. I used to have my first baby mama. I was sprung. I was hooked. It's the truth. She was older than me. I was 19 years old when I met her, 18, 19 years old. I think I was 18, right? She was well into her 30s already. She was fine as hell. All the homies are like, damn, you got that one. She's bad. She got a Lexus, bro. She got her shit together. You're doing it, right? And even though we had our disagreements, I was still liked the fact that I had a fine old lady. And this was like my first real relationship because I was fresh out of the youth authority. And this is prior to prison terms. And I was super gang banged out with the Mongolian, all this stupid things that I thought I was, right? I was not a man. I was a boy. But even though it didn't work out for us, I was enraptured and in love with this chick. And I ended up doing a little bit of time, and I ended up doing 3 or 4 months. And in doing that time, at first I couldn't breathe because I wasn't with her. I couldn't, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to carry myself. And then I realized where I was at and the position I was in. And I understood that I didn't have no time to dwell on a woman. I didn't have no time to think about what she was doing out there, which of course she was doing some bad shit out there, right? I didn't have no opportunities to change what was going on. And time healed all wounds. And by the time I got out, I didn't give a fuck anymore, which was the best thing for me. It wasn't that she was a bad woman, but she was bad for me and I was bad for her. Okay. And I realized that, and it took time and distance to help me realize that. Now I would have never killed my own child for her. Not at all. Right. But I did love and care for her. At least I thought I did. Now, even though she did me dirty, but that's not here nor there. It happens. It's part of the game. I did her dirty a gang of times too. So it is what it is. In this case, that I say that to say this, Rebecca Haro, now that she's had time and distance away, and of course she has her own team of lawyers talking to her, I believe they finally have gotten to her. And also Jake's family believes that. So we'll find out today, man. Court is going to be today. They will be brought into a courtroom where the only ones present will be, I don't know if media is going to be allowed in the courtroom because this is a felony conference. This is a little something different. I don't know if this were because they're going to talk about evidence that they have in the case. I don't know. I know there's no jury at this time because, of course, they haven't went through trial and picked a jury. So I know the judge will be present. Of course, the court reporter will be present, the person that gets it all down. Several lawyers on Rebecca's side, the district attorney, and, of course, Jake's side. And I don't know if family members are going to be allowed into the courtroom. I know for sure that it's going to happen as closed up as they can have it. But then, of course, someone is probably going to leak what's going on in there. Again, it may be open to the public. I'm not too sure of how these felony conferences go. There's not a lot of times that I've seen this happen. This is extenuating circumstances. This is where I believe the only reason you would have this court date at all is to show evidence and to kind of figure out a deal. Now, that doesn't mean the district attorney has to give a deal, but the district attorney could have, in fact, already been in communication with Rebecca's lawyers and have decided, look, let's drop a bombshell on Jake. Let's point the finger that way. Or it could be the other way around. We will find out. For those that are on Team Jake, and when I mean Team Jake, fuck both these animals, right? These beasts, these weirdos. But for those who are on Team Jake that believe he's going to tell first, put a 1 in the comments. For those that are on Team Rebecca and believe she's going to blow the spot up and tell on Jake, put a 2 in the comments. I want to see some interaction. I want to see some conversation. I want to find out what you guys think. Again, they will be going to court today. I will be bringing you guys the latest updates, the breaking news on what happens. But mark my words, something big is going to happen today. Today, I believe Rebecca is going to confess. This quite possibly could be the day that we find out what happened exactly to baby Manuel to some extent. Like I said, her variation, her version. Doesn't obviously mean it's the truth, but it's her truth and the way she wants to spin it. Or she could bite down on her muzzle and back her man and still blame Ola, right? And at the end of the day, the bitch is going to get a life without sentence. And that's just how that goes. Anyways, let me know what you guys think, man. I'll be bringing you content after content. And I respect and thank you guys all for tuning into Gun. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. And that's the betterment of all people. Also, yesterday I dropped a video. It was another one of my true crimes. And it was about that case going on in Connecticut. The Mimi Torres Garcia case. For some reason, YouTube decided to pull it down. I don't know why. Thought it was well done. but it was pulled down. But we need to also, I'm going to start to do videos concerning that case, because that is a 12-year-old girl that was found dead in a barrel, and her mother, her aunt, and her mother's boyfriend have been arrested. It's just a big case going on. I don't know why YouTube decided, maybe they believed it was too graphic, whatever, right? I'm going to continue the justice for Mimi, and believe me. Anyways, with that being said, this video is sponsored by Vario Liquors, man, out there in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the area, go over there and show that man some support, man. And stop hating on that man, because he's a good one, right? This is the gun. Bang, bang.